Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service and JBizTechValley.com. We have a very, very special guest with us, Dr. Stephen Katz, even though he's here as an Assemblyman from Westchester. Well, I call you Dr. Assemblyman Steve. I mean, I have so many different names.
There you go.
I'll call you Steve, all right?
That'd be my pleasure, please.
Steve, welcome to the Jewish View.
Thank you so
now
much
we should
for welcoming me.
You're very welcome, and I'm glad you're here. I mean, it's very, it's an honor for me. And I wanted to
for me.
let the audience know that you're a veterinarian, and
That's
you're not the first.
doctor.
Right, you're not the first veterinarian in the legislature, but you're the only one at this point.
Correct.
But that's...
That was an interesting question. I mean, usually, I don't know what percentage Mark's our man in the Capitol of how many are lawyers, but I know that's a great majority. That's all I know.
It's
Really?
not a great majority,
It's
not anymore.
65%. I was surprised that it
really?
was as small as
Right.
the number
I'm
was, Mark.
surprised
I
also.
expected it to be 90%.
Exactly what I was thinking also.
Yeah, 65%.
But in any case, you're a veterinarian, and politics are just kind of don't go together. I mean, how did you link the two? I mean, you're a good citizen, I'm sure, but you know, maybe that's really the answer.
That is the answer. I'm doing this as my civic duty. I was just too young to be in the Vietnam War and too old for the other ones coming down the pike. And I have a successful veterinary practice, and God has been very good to me and my family. And so this is my payback to my state and to my country.
And, you know, you're from northern Westchester, you live in
Correct.
Yorktown Heights.
Yes.
And but your district also goes into Putnam County.
Yes.
You know, what has been the biggest issue that you've tried to get through in the Assembly that you're really passionate about, that you really want? I mean, because there's now Animal Advocacy Day, and there's a lot of other...
We're pretty okay with
things
animals
about the
here in our
animals.
state. I think we treat our state pretty well with animals.
There's Buster's Law.
We're okay with animals. I mean, the areas that we need a lot of help in is the fact that we spend more money than we take in. It's that simple.
But where do you cut? Either you get more money with taxes, or you cut.
Or federal aid.
Or you find new sources of revenue.
Right.
In my experience at this point, Rabbi, there are no politicians that have the guts to cut services. Okay, that will not happen in New York. What we need to, and New York has more social services virtually than any other state in the country. Maybe it rivals California. In order for us to be able to pay for those, right now what we have done since I've been in the legislature for the last 4 years is to make up generally a $2 billion deficit between how much we bring in and how much we spend in our budget. We have resorted to some pretty dangerous tricks. The worst one being what they call sweeps and transfers. That's something that I learned up here. And what is a sweep and a transfer? There are 32 different funds that are operated by the state of New York, such as the Disability Fund. Okay.
You're not talking about the state lottery, is that?
Oh,
No. He's talking about
I'm talking about funds that are used in general one way or another for a specific purpose to have that money set aside
In the budget.
In funds that are funded either through the budget or through taxation or through fees or what have you. What we have done in the last 4 years, and there are 32 of them, okay, 32 funds like that. What we have done in the last 4 years is take any surpluses out of these funds to cover our operating losses. Now, given the fact that we have swept and transferred, we swept the extra money out of the fund and transferred it into the general fund to be used to cover our deficit.
How much money are you talking about? Big money, or?
Oh yeah, we're talking in the billions.
Really, that much?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So sweeps and transfers, when you only have 32 of these funds, you're going to run out of that pretty soon, because we used 6 of them in the last 4 years. So that leaves you only 28 of them, and that will run out. You
Well,
can't
maybe
keep
they'll
doing
make more
that.
money. I mean,
Well, that's what, you know,
They're
I would
hoping.
like to see. And there are essentially limited number of channels that we can, you know, have windfall dollars come in versus, sure, over time, if we decrease our business taxes, if we make it for a more, you know, change the regulatory environment in here, which is the strictest in the nation, the fee structures for companies, which is the highest in the nation. We are superlatives in all the things you don't want to be a superlative in. We are either the best or the worst in the country right now. I live in Westchester, highest property taxes in the country, okay? #1 in all 50 states. So that's nothing to be proud of, okay? Really not. And because all that's borne on the backs of taxpayers. And believe me, the overwhelming majority of the taxpayers are not rich. They're like me. I'm middle class. I have 4 daughters and a business that, because of the taxes alone, I am running as fast as I can to stay in place.
Wow.
Okay?
It means you're going to have 4 weddings.
You bet. I had
To pay for.
one and 3 to go.
Okay.
My first one married a nice Jewish boy who just got his PhD from Harvard.
Beautiful.
I'm kvelling.
all right, very good.
So we have to come up with ways to increase revenue because we're not going to decrease services. It's just not going to happen.
So when we talk about, let's say, libraries getting a decrease in aid, you know, we're cutting services in the wrong places
Correct.
then?
Now here's what I would tell you. If we did something like, dare I say it, hydrofracking,
Yeah.
okay, which would aside from the fact that it would add to our national security by making us that much more energy independent, so we don't have to worry about Iraq and the Middle East and the people over there who have created nothing in 1,000 years other than having the God-blessed accident of sitting on a mountain of oil. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Our policy in the United States for the last 50 years has been, we do not care who is in government so long as we have the unimpeded flow of cheap oil. That is the national foreign policy.
Which
okay?
is a bad
Which
foreign
is
policy.
awful.
Yeah.
Okay? We've been very fortunate in that virtually the only exception to that rule has been our allegiance to Israel. And I'm sorry, I want to contribute to the national security of my country and our independence, our foreign policy independence and our energy independence, and do it in a way that can be responsibly stewarded by not destroying our environment, but being able to take advantage of a technology that will not only help my state and my country, but will help all the people who have such demands for social services here in New York, such as the libraries, which I will do anything for.
So,
Excellent.
so you're obviously in favor of hydrofracking?
I certainly am.
Okay. Personally, I am too. But, you know, you got these environmentalists who say, well, we don't know about this and we don't know about that, how this is going to impact and that's going to impact. And I say to them, look, if you were around when they invented cars, you probably wouldn't want the automobile.
Of course.
Because you didn't know if it was going to explode on this
Right.
day or that day. It's evolving.
Correct.
And people died using the automobile in the very beginning, but now we've improved to the point where we die for other reasons, not because the automobile
I
blew
totally
up.
agree with you, Mark, to the point where now, the main arguments that environmentalists have, such as putting in the solvent, the toluene-based, chemical solvents, they have now organic, biodegradable solvents that they can put into that sluice.
Mm-hmm.
And that ends that argument right there. And there are companies now that are able to take the fracked water, which if you use the organic solvent, you don't even have that problem, but they will convert that water back to potable water.
Right, excellent. I see you're Jewish-minded. I mean, Dr. Katz, you have to be. But I mean, just even with your attitude. I mean, I'm with the Chabad Institution, and Chabad is really everywhere around the world, literally.
Yes.
You have any connections with Chabad Lubavitch?
I don't have direct connections, but in Carmel, which is one of the towns in my district, has a very strong Chabad group. And I am a Jew. I will do anything and everything I can for my brethren.
You connected with the mitzvah mobiles, you know, you're familiar with that?
Yes, I have. I have laid tefillin in the mitzvah mobiles.
Now, Carmel's the county seat of Putnam County?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
that's where the government action is for that
Correct.
county.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure people know
Yes.
where Carmel is.
That's
all.
what
Now,
Carmel
Mount
is.
Carmel and
And
You
there's,
know,
there's a Chabad house there, and there's a lovely Chabad store where you can get Jewish, Jewish items. It's very,
and
very
what
nice.
about when you go into New York City? Because your veterinarian practice is in the Bronx,
Yes.
but you're going to Manhattan a lot
I go
also.
into Manhattan.
Do you have
and-
any interaction with the Chabad there?
The main interaction I'll have is they'll come up to me and they'll ask me if I laid tefillin that day.
Yeah.
And I'm an honest guy, and I laid tefillin for them. When my father passed away when I was 15 years old, I said Kaddish for him twice a day for 11 months.
Wow.
So I laid tefillin every single day.
Wow, that's
So-
marvelous.
Yeah.
At such a young age.
Correct.
Your father was young too.
Yes, he was.
Okay, let me just ask you about some issues that are just to talk about them conceptually,
Sure.
not to talk about them in the context of any sort of vote in the legislature. Okay, because
Sure.
we want to be timeless on the show.
No problem.
Medical marijuana.
Medical marijuana.
As a physician, as a veterinarian,
Correct.
is that something that that we can endorse, that we should endorse?
Here's what I will tell you about
what-
medical marijuana, okay? Aside from the fact that marijuana has been used as a medicinal for thousands of years, the Egyptians were using it. When I went to the, I'll give you a little bit of a
Sure.
story. I'm sorry, but
No, that's good. We
need
got a
to.
half hour.
When I went to Richard Gottfried's medical marijuana hearing in Mineola, and I expected to hear the, people with intractable, pain, chemotherapy patients, cancer, cancer victims, which they were there. But half of the people who gave testimony that day were families of children between 2 and 10 years old who suffered from 2 different neurologic disorders, both of which caused the same problem, and that was up to 100 grand mal seizures a day. Now, I cannot imagine, as a parent, having a 2-year-old child who is having 100 seizures a day. Beyond my ken. So severe that 4 of the families, and one was an attorney, one owned a shop, were leaving the state for Colorado, where their child could get the medication that would stop the seizures. That's illegal in the state of New York.
And there's no other medicine that would help that?
They've been on 5 different horrible big pharmaceutical medicines that have not helped the problem.
And eventually
That
your body
cause
builds
awful
up,
side effects.
and your body builds up an immunity to those also.
It rejects them completely, and it doesn't work. They don't work.
And
So
it's interesting,
so-
marijuana's the only thing that'll help?
it's
I mean, I
not
don't know, I'm
it's
not a
it's
medical
it's
person.
not the marijuana. What they have done is there are 400 different compounds in marijuana. What we normally think about is THC, which is the psychogenic component that gets you high, okay? There's another major component in the marijuana plant, hemp marijuana, called cannabidiol, CBD. That is non-psychogenic. It does not get you high, but it stops seizures. And currently, there are tests being done on CBD, clinical trials. Numerous of the other cannabinoids and terpenes. Those are categories of chemicals that are in the marijuana plant that are being studied for their ability to be an immunosuppressive. This is particularly CBD. Immunosuppressive, anti-inflammatory, so MS, Parkinsonian tremors, and the ability to halt metastasis in tumors. Those properties are currently being studied at NYU Medical School, at University of California, San Francisco, at University of Washington. Okay? For the most part, the treatment using marijuana in those instances does not involve them smoking it. It involves the extraction of the vital oils that for the most part are not psychogenic, that are then turned into, give it cherry flavor and give to the kids. You can turn it into a tablet, what have you. That is the state of medical marijuana right now. Smoking it should certainly be allowed for anxiety for the poor veterans who come back from the wars with PTSD.
And again, this is the only thing. The two
Yes.
questions, so I didn't want to interrupt you, but I guess I did now. In any case, can they isolate that chemical so it's not marijuana anymore, it's just this chemical?
They've done that already.
You know where I'm coming from, maybe I should say, because I visit Jewish prisoners, and I guess, I see the dark side of life also. I mean, I teach
Sure.
Torah, which is delight,
Sure.
but then people come to clergymen, and many clergymen, all types of further problems. And I just see the drug problem as such a major problem today.
Here's what
But that's why when you say drugs, I repel. I says,
Well-
I don't want to see it. If it would go away altogether out of the United States, I would just love it.
Here's what I can tell you. Number one, this is the 21st century now, okay? The gateway drug, that they love to use that word gateway drug, is not marijuana. The gateway drug is Percocet, oxycodone, meperidine, and the other narcotic opiates that are foisted on us, that are highly, by Big Pharma and all the mainstream medical world, that are highly addictive, that have incredibly bad side effects, but that is what they allow. I will quote you the New England Journal of Medicine, to their editorial board 2 years ago. For doctors to be able to prescribe oxycodone, Percocet, meperidine, and not be able to prescribe medical marijuana is hypocrisy. That's number one. Number two, I am a doctor. I see pain, whether it be in dogs or whether it be in people. And as a healthcare professional, I find it appalling that I am not allowed to have every possible bullet in the armamentarium against pain, against suffering, for pain palliation, for even the potential for cure. I want it there because I can use it or not. But I don't want you guys who are telling me that it's okay to use opiates, it's okay to use narcotics on my mother, we can talk about that, but not use marijuana, where in the history of the world there has never been one instance of an overdose, a death from marijuana intoxication. Yet how can you say the same thing for oxycodone? No, that's the #1 killer in the United States.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah.
and that is what's prescribed. But to be able to use marijuana for curative purposes that's not going to get you high as such, I mean, you've got to be kidding me. And that's New York, the status of where we are in New York.
Tell us about your mother.
My mother has a back condition whereby at this point she has virtually no discs left in her lower back. She suffers from unending, intractable pain. She has had 4 surgeries that have failed on her back, and she walks completely stooped over, like Groucho Marx used, like this.
Yeah.
She walks like this. Okay, she can't get up any further than that, and at this point, her rib cage, her back has so collapsed that her rib cage touches the end of her hip, and so she can't catch a deep breath. She is in constant pain, and she is given sublethal doses of Percocet and oxycodone. That is what she lives on. And you do not want to see my mother if she takes a couple of extra pills during the course of her month that she has it, and she doesn't have any more for a day or two.
Wow.
You want to see a drug addict? Take a look at my 84-year-old mother. And that is what they are prescribing to her. But she can't have marijuana. That's like a joke. This is a joke to me. I can't believe that we are still the victims of a law from 1937 that was written by a racist and an anti-Semite.
Who was that?
I don't know.
You'll learn the history of it.
Okay, I'll Google it. But let me just ask you, I have so many questions from this because I really enjoyed your explanation of this because I haven't heard anyone so articulate about this.
Thank you.
And it's just incredible.
To me, it's an education also.
It really is.
You know, like I said,
it's
it's not
amazing.
coming
What about-
from drugs
what about-
are bad for people.
What
but
about
We're not talking about, this is a medicine.
what about marijuana being controlled like morphine is at the end of life? It's only used in the hospital. It's only used under controlled situations. You know.
Why would you want to limit it that way?
For security.
For security of what? What is it you're
I'm
trying
just
to
asking.
secure?
I'm
See,
not
here's
debating, I'm asking.
No, here's what my argument to all that right now,
Yeah.
on even the most practical level. If you want to use the analogy to prohibition, I can't think of a better analogy.
Okay.
In that, number one, whether we like it or not, marijuana is the #1 cash crop in the United States.
Why, really, number one?
Number one, more than soybeans, corn,
Really?
We don't import that from South America?
The marijuana?
Yeah. Grow it here?
Not a whole lot.
Oh, okay.
Most of it's grown here in
Okay.
Appalachia, and
Yeah.
I mean all them moonshiners. They're not making moonshine
Moonshine,
anymore.
okay.
Okay. And so I'll take it back. That's some. The rest of the marijuana and other drugs, yeah, coming from cartels in South America and Mexico. They're killing Americans. You know all the chazaraya. And so in places like Colorado, one of the things that they're seeing right now is that the money that was otherwise going to the cartels is now going to the state towards its revenue. They had expected $250 million from the sale, from the revenue for the state from the sale of marijuana. They're going to have $1 billion. And that money is going towards education, towards infrastructure, towards all the things that my state needs, but we don't have the money for. That we do, I can't tell you how much we bend over backwards to not get more
control medical marijuana the way morphine is controlled for the end of life is not really
No, you need a broader context for it.
You need a broader context. Okay.
Number one, you need a broader context. You need a broader context of who is eligible for marijuana treatment, and you need the discretion of the doctors who are, number one, this will be controlled with our iStop program, with the electronic monitoring of prescriptions that we have, put into effect.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one of the issues that hopefully we have under control, but it should be the discretion of a medical expert as to whether or not their patient could benefit from any form of a marijuana derivative, whether it be CBD oil, whether it be what they call Charlotte's Web, which is a high CBD strain of marijuana that has a small amount of THC, very, very small, but that is what they have found to be the most effective in combating the seizures.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You had a run-in in Queens with the law in terms of marijuana.
Correct.
You were in possession
Yes.
of it, and you still enjoy carrying it, or do you smoke it, or what do you?
No.
I don't know. I'm just
No,
asking. I forgot what it was.
I've gotten what I've done at some point when medical marijuana is legal in the state.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll have a medical marijuana card. But no, what I do now, Mark, is I have inversion tables at virtually every office that I'm in. I have 4 offices.
Yeah. What's an inversion table?
An inversion table, you sit on it and it turns you upside down.
Okay.
Okay.
What, for the animals?
No, for
No,
you.
this is for me and my back. I have the same condition my mother has.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's
And so what I need to do and what I have promised myself is I will never have the surgeries that my mother had that failed so miserably. And I will never, ever take Percocet or oxycodone or any other opiate narcotic.
See, you know too much. you
Yeah,
know how it's
that's right.
hurts,
I'm not
yeah.
going to do what I'm not going to acquiesce. So what I do is now I use the inversion table.
Yeah.
I have a series of stretches that I do.
Right.
I have a real routine now,
Right.
Mark, to do it.
Yeah.
I do stretches. I'll then get on the inversion table, and then I will ice my back.
So
And
how does
that's
that fit
been
in
good.
with the marijuana that you,
I
with the
do
Queemans
that,
incident?
I do that in lieu of smoking marijuana for my pain.
oh,
Really?
okay.
So you're
So what
still in
happened
pain
with
now?
the,
I'm in pain constantly.
Really?
so what happened
So-
with the Queemans incident?
The charge was dismissed.
It was dismissed.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, we had just, in the Assembly, we had voted for the decriminalization, the legalization of 25 grams, which is 7/8 of an ounce, of marijuana at the request of Police Commissioner Ray Kelly,
Okay.
who wanted to be able to continue stop and frisk, but not have to send every little young guy who has a little, a joint in his pocket to jail.
Right.
If nothing else, but to keep the police on the streets more. And so, in accordance to that, we passed that. I had 3 grams, not 28 or anything else, and nor had I smoked it, because when I did do it, it wasn't ever in the daytime. It was I had with my wife a 3-strike and you're out. If I went 2 nights without any sleep on account of the pain, I would ask her, and I would go in, this would be about a half hour before I go to sleep. I would go into my car, listen to an audio book, take a few puffs to help me sleep and go to bed. It was very prosaic, to say the least. But
So
that would help me to go to sleep.
Well, that's why I just wanted to
I'll-
clear the air.
I'll clarify. I will clarify anything about it, because there's nothing in my life
well,
that
that's why I
I could
wasn't-
ever say that I'm ashamed of.
Well, that's why I wasn't uncomfortable asking you. I
Yes.
just wanted to be gentle about
Absolutely.
how I did it.
No, that is, but I don't do it. I do not do it now. I have not done it since that incident. I have alternative mechanisms to control my pain right now.
Okay. And then I wanted to ask you about the, are you on the health committee, the Assembly Health Committee?
No,
But you went to that hearing in
I
Mineola.
went to yes,
Okay.
because I have a strong
Yeah.
interest in it.
So that's interesting. I would think you would be on the health committee, but
Well, you would think, Mark, that I would be on the health committee.
Yeah.
And you would think that since I am the only veterinarian in the legislature
Right.
who also has ties to the dairy industry, the 3rd largest industry
Yeah.
in our state, and to the horse industry, that I might be on the agriculture committee too.
so who doesn't?
But I am not. I'm the ranking member of mental health. So, go
Well,
figure.
is that a political thing, or doesn't your leader choose to put you on committees?
Yes, that is something that the leader chooses.
Your leader,
My leader.
Brian.
My leader, Brian Kolb.
And he chose
Who?
not to put you, because the speaker
Well-
doesn't have a,
No, he has no
Choice.
say in it.
No, okay.
And in effect, I hate to say this, but it really doesn't matter which committee I'm on, because I'm in such a vast minority.
Right,
That I can be or go to any meetings that I want.
Exactly, right.
Which is, why I was at Assemblyman Gottfried's.
what's the, are you the only doctor, aside from a PhD doctor, are you the only a doctor within the medical field in the legislature? I know Joel Miller used to be.
He was the dentist.
Yeah, but he left.
No, yeah, no more.
So you're the only
That's
one?
it.
Okay.
That's just me.
What is your future in the Assembly? I mean, you're there for 2 terms, 4 years.
Correct. I'm running one more time,
That's
and then
it?
I'm term limiting myself out.
Okay.
Because I am a citizen legislator. I am
Right.
not a professional politician. Never was, never will be, don't want to be. Don't think it should exist. And is one of the major problems we have in New York, is a professional class of lifelong politicians whose primary role is their reelection.
You'll be missed.
We're out of time. It was very, very interesting and
Thank you.
informative.
Thank you.
Assemblyman, Dr. Stephen
Thank
Katz, just giving all your titles
Thank you,
over
Rabbi.
here. And most important to me, you're a good Jew over here.
Thank you so much.
That's important on the Jewish view, but we wish you not only everything good for you and making a living and being a doctor and someone, but of course the main thing is good health.
Thank you so much.
And so we wish you the best and your mother everything good.
Thank you.
Good health.
Thank you very much.